that we are in a nation where the entire country, more than ever, has been polarized along ethnic, religious, and regional lines. No country can make any headway in this kind of situation. Nigeria is the envy of so many nations in this world. Very resilient people. We are sitting on wealth in this country. Nigerians have no reason to be involved in the Jaguar syndrome that become the order of the day to places that we think we should have been better than. But because of issues of polarization of the nation along ethnic, religious, and some primordial lines, we've not been able to achieve our potentials. Do we actually believe in the nation Nigeria? Do we actually place Nigeria first before our tribes? No. Why have I said, or why do I say that ethnic nationalism or tribal nationalism or regional nationalism or whatever you call it, why am I saying that it become our bane? Take for instance, the fight against corruption. All I need to go scot-free in this country, even if I steal the entire nation, even steal your future and your great-grandchildren's future, is for me to whip up ethnic sentiments, and my tribal elements will support me. Oh, it's our own. And it is dead. Nobody says anything again. We cannot continue like this as a nation. These things are not helpful in the economic growth of this country in so many ways. There's no unity of purpose. Have you thought of if this situation is not existing in this country, where this country would have been today? It means there will not be anything like federal character. There will not be anything like quota system. There will not be anything like mediocrity being foisted and forced on everyone. Because they're not thinking like a one nation we are supposed to be. If we think that way, we don't care about where your president comes from. Myself, Onyema, I don't care where my president, the ministers, the messengers, the governors come from. They can come from one village as far as I'm concerned. All I need is good governance. However, what we practice in Nigeria is the other way around. And that has demeaned the progress of our nation. And I have to say that unless and until when we fight for each other, nationhood will continue to elude us. Unless and until we fight for each other, nationhood will continue to elude this country. Why did I say so? Take for example, Nigeria is a multicultural entity. In a multicultural nation like Nigeria, the worst thing you can do to yourself is to allow the components of that entity to be fighting for themselves, for whatever belongs to them or what they should get. Once you do that, you're creating a very huge problem that may consume that particular nation. What we need is to fight for each other. I want to see a situation where someone from Kano will wake up one day and pick up the gauntlet and say, government, my brothers in the southeastern part of the country have no roads. Their roads are highly dilapidated. All the federal government roads there are washed off by erosion. Government, what are you doing about it? This is somebody from Kano fighting for the man in the southeast. Do you know the extent that we do to touch the hearts and minds of people from that section of the country? Imagine someone from the southeast picking up a fight with the federal government. Our brothers and sisters in the northern part of the country, they need irrigation. They need dams to, irrigate their farms. Let somebody from the southeast pick up that fight and be fighting for the northern part. Imagine what that would do with the minds and hearts of our northern brothers. Let somebody from the southwest fight for his fellows in the south-south until and only when we begin to fight each other, that we fight for each other, we can have a nation. What we are doing now is fighting against each other, and that is not helpful at all. That's why I say that national cohesion is part of the challenges. Collapsing national security. You cannot make any impactful economic growth with the kind of the security situation we have in our nation today. The receding Boko Haram threats have been replaced in a web of nexus of banditry and terrorism in the in the northwest. In the north central, you have the farmer herders crisis raging, with thousands of people losing their lives in our nation. In other countries, in other climes, the death of just one person in an unwholesome way will generate a lot of problems. In Nigeria, thousands die, nobody gives a damn. You cannot start to begin to build nationhood in this manner. In the southwest, there's a new wave or upsurge in gangsterism and ritual killings. In the southeast, you have separatist violence with the attendant criminal opportunism. Yes, that's what is happening in the southeast. Some people are hiding under the cloak of, we are marginalized and committing heinous crimes when they are absolutely criminals. That is what is happening. In the south-south, there is a resurgence of piracy and oil theft. So you have a nation where insecurity has become the order of the day, and unless this is surmounted, we are going to continue to have economic problems. No country develops in an atmosphere of rancor, in an atmosphere of insecurity. So this has to be addressed. Of course, you have to start thinking about the ease of doing business in Nigeria. When the lead speaker spoke, he talked about airpeace. The ease of doing business in Nigeria is zero, absolutely non-existent. In your neighboring country like the Republic of Benin, if you're bringing in any good into that country, you know for sure that within 48 hours, your goods will be cleared. In Nigeria, you're not certain when. Let me take aviation, for instance, where I belong. There's what is called AOG, that is aircraft on ground. Aircraft on ground means a situation where there's a technical problem with an aircraft. Maybe something goes south in an aircraft and you need that part, and you discover that in your technical stores, you don't have that part. You need to import it. All over the world, AOG situations are treated like a matter of life and death. The aircraft is treated like a living being. All over the world, when your AOG part comes into any country, as long as that spare part is ordered ordered under AOG anywhere in the world, custom will not stop you. They only take your details and allow you to go because that plane must get up. Then you later come and settle. In Nigeria, your AOG part will arrive. Maybe in the next 3 weeks, you're still talking about it. And the aircraft is grounded with passengers suffering all over the place. That is the ease of doing business in your country. As I stand here, we are not serious in this country about encouraging indigenous investments. How do you grow your economy when the public service in your country is seeing investors as rivals? How do you grow your economy when indigenous investors are being treated with levity and envy by their own ministers? How do you grow your economy? How do you grow your economy in this country when indigenous investments are overtaxed? The same people providing jobs for the majority of the populace that have been trampled upon, how do you encourage them to keep on providing jobs? Government alone cannot provide jobs. How do you do this? When people in government see you first of all as an enemy, as a rival, they try to look beyond their noses because they are beclouded by whatever sentiments they believe in, and they make business impossible. They make the growth of business impossible in this country. He told you about APs having $14 million dollars stranded in the central bank. Yes, of course, it's not hidden. For the past 4 months, and you have about 15 aircraft stranded abroad. How do you, and people will say, oh, Nigerian airlines, they lack capacity. They don't lack capacity. What they lack is truthful government support. What they lack is ease of doing business. Do you know the amount of money this country spends through its airlines in maintenance? APs alone in 2022, for instance, I'm not talking what does not exist. One of the biggest four is our auditors, PwC. In 2022, we expended 78 billion naira in maintenance, APs alone. And this went to foreign countries. Yeah? This went to foreign countries. How do you expect growth of indigenous investment in this manner? It will never happen. I applied to have a maintenance hangar in 2015. I paid over 100 million to lease land at the Lagos airport to farm. That's about 6-7 years ago. They even later made us to pay more money. As I speak to you, we are yet to get that land. And this is the biggest carrier, not only in West Africa, the whole of Central Africa, and the largest, the fastest growing airline in the whole of Africa. Yet, it cannot boast of a hangar space. Not because it doesn't have the funds to build one. If they had given us this some 6 years ago, maybe now Nigeria will have an MRO they'll be proud of that will attract foreign investments because other countries will come here and maintain their aircraft. While Nigerian airlines will maintain their aircraft here. So you can imagine what one airline alone has pushed out to the foreign reserves of other countries. This is what is happening here. The ease of doing business is zero, completely zero. And unless this is addressed, we cannot have any solution in sight. Of course, you talk about endemic public corruption. That one is something of not only public notice, even judicial notice. So I don't have to dwell on that. Of course, our economy has been battered. But if we have the political will, we can come out of it. If we have the political will, we can come out of it. What we need now is that the present government in Nigeria, it's obvious that the present government in Nigeria has inherited massive governance burden. No doubt about that. Yes, we must give the government some benefit of doubt and time to put their acts together. But in doing that, the government requires forthrightness, sincerity of purpose, and radical political will. The government must be decisive enough to confront and entrench, to confront the entrenched vested interest in the polity. There's a lot of vested interest with people in government. This government must do everything to dismantle that. Public servants must be statesmen who must be committed to the principle of democratic governance. If this is not done, then we are in for a very serious problem. The fate of the country in this moment largely depends on the strength and character and dedication of our political leaders. Yes, the government must be able to adopt a hardline commitment to the principles of democratic good governance, even in the face of reactionary pressures arising from the entrenched vested interests. However, if we are going to have bad statesmen in governance, the chances are that the challenges will aggravate into a combustible mix that may herald a failed state in Nigeria in the nearest future. And we don't want this to happen. So every hand must be on deck to make sure this is something we don't see in our lifetime. But most importantly is national reconciliation and national reintegration. Like I said, the polity has been fragmented. We have the country polarized again along ethnic lines, along religious lines, along regional lines. The first thing this regime must do is to try to unite the country. You don't even need a national conference now, because we discovered that national conference also is good, but sometimes it's also a job for the boys. We have enough in the constitution of the country if it is properly and truthfully implemented. What we need now is a situation whereby the government, through its acts, will unite this country. What we need now is to have a nation where people look at each other as people from the same God, people that belong to the same human community, and that can start with the appointments you make, with the pronouncements you make, with the decisions you take as a government. We don't need to have a national conference to achieve that. If you start today and make every part of this country wanted in every way, people will readily jelly. Nigerians are very good people. Nigerians have taken a lot of flack from this leadership over the years. Nigerians are very easy to please. All you need to do is make every one of them feel wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, if we start talking about the ills or whatever happens in this country today, we remain here till, in fact, next year. The thing we need to do, I'll leave you with this word, unless and only when we begin to fight for each other as brothers and sisters of one nation coming from one God, there will be no Nigeria. Thank you. Round of applause. Men are